Cody Bellinger is the first of the Scott Boras four to sign, and he will stay put with the Chicago Cubs on a 3-year contract that includes opt-outs after each of the first 2 seasons. The total contract is worth $80 million, with the Cubs scheduled to pay him $30 million in each of the first 2 seasons, and then $20 million in the 3rd season. The 2nd and 3rd years, of course, pending Bellinger's decision to opt out or not. So, with Bellinger scheduled to earn 30, 30, and 20 over the next 3 years, it's safe to assume this to be more of a 2-year, $60 million, with him more likely than not expected to opt out instead of accepting the $20 million for his 3rd year. So, what does this all mean when it comes to remaining free agents, as well as its effect on the Cubs roster? Let's start with the Cubs, who obviously gain a shot in the arm. The question is, where will Bellinger play, since he's a top defender both in center field and first base? He definitely carries more value as a center fielder, but the Cubs are also trying to break in top defensive center fielder Pete Crow Armstrong. On the other hand, if the Cubs play Bellinger at first, it takes away a position for newly acquired Michael Busch, whose best defensive home would be first base. Busch can also play third base, but he could be seen as a liability there, and new manager Craig Counsell has expressed a desire to play Christopher Morel there to get him at-bats. It would appear that Busch or Morel could occupy designated hitter, but then what about guys like Matt Mervis, Patrick Wisdom, Nick Madrigal, and even Michael Tauchman? Someone's going to be left out, but I guess you could say that that's a good problem to have. Most of the lineup should be dependent on how Pete Crow Armstrong hits this spring. If he hits, he starts in center field, and Bellinger plays first, with Busch DHing and Morel at third in what should be their best defensive lineup. If Crow Armstrong can't pull his own weight, expect Bellinger in center field and Busch at first, or possibly Mervis if he breaks out. Late innings with the lead, Crow Armstrong can come in as a defensive replacement, and the Cubs could rotate back to that previous ideal defensive lineup that I mentioned. These are now some solid options, and if Crow Armstrong, Michael Busch, Morel, and perhaps even Matt Mervis are able to take a step forward, this Cubs team should win the NL Central, but perhaps then be underdogs going into the postseason, depending on what they add at the trade deadline. Now, how about the other Boras clients? Matt Chapman, Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery. The fact that Bellinger signed a 3-year deal for just $80 million total committed, we should expect something similar from the remaining big 3 soon, but each for probably a little bit less money in all likeliness. And now with spring training already underway, they're going to want to sign sooner than later, especially the pitchers. So where could they be going? The San Francisco Giants still haven't made a real splash that their fan base is overly excited about yet, with Jung-Hoo Lee being their headliner so far. They could be a landing spot for any of the 3. Chapman used to play in Oakland, so he might have some connections to the area possibly. The Mets, having lost Kodai Senga for at least part of the regular season, could put pressure on them to add to their rotation, and we all know that owner Steve Cohen isn't pressed for cash. Baltimore could make as much sense as anywhere for one of the pitchers, with an already low payroll, a new owner, and some injury concerns with Kyle Bradish that might trigger fear for the need for depth. And of course, you always never know with teams like the Phillies and the Yankees. What is for certain is that the first domino has fallen, and it shouldn't be too much longer before the music stops for the last time and all the seats are filled. If you enjoyed the video, please like it, share it, subscribe to the channel, and I'll do my best to put out more videos like this.